Here I was pushed in the ocean with the sharks. So I thought I'll do an LLM, and that was my plan. I'll come to the US. I used to also dance, like I'm a trained classical dancer. In fact, when I started working, many people told me I was too nice. That's my journey of becoming a trial lawyer.
Welcome to Celebrating Justice, presented by the Trial Lawyers Journal and CloudLex, the next-gen legal cloud platform built exclusively for personal injury law. Get inspired by the nation's top trial lawyers and share in the stories that shape our pursuit of justice. Follow the podcast and join our community at triallawyersjournal.com. Now here's your host, editor of TLJ and VP of Marketing at CloudLex, Chad Sands.
Welcome back to Celebrating Justice. In this episode, we hear from trial lawyer Aparna Pujar. Aparna's journey to becoming a trial lawyer started back in India, where she graduated from law school and worked for 3 years before coming to the U.S. to get her master's and ultimately landing a spot at Napoli Skolnick's Manhattan offices. To learn more about her journey, I asked her, why did you want to become a trial lawyer?
I don't really have a very conventional American attorney's journey, honestly, because I grew up in India and I studied law in India. I took the bar exam in 2017 and I was called to the bar first in India in 2018. I worked in India for a few years and it was pretty straightforward for me. Honestly, I was doing commercial litigation and arbitration. And although I was a first generation lawyer, it was a good life, honestly. But I never saw a trial when I was in India, even though I worked for like 3 years. It was because things are very similar, but yet a little different because things are a little slower there. And most of the cases, as soon as you get a summary judgment, things come to a standstill. So I never got the opportunity to see a trial. But I used to also dance, like I'm a trained classical dancer. So I always loved the stage. I loved performing, being on the center stage. And I always thought a trial to be something like a performance, but with a genuine purpose. So I was very attracted to it always. And I used to watch these movies, Hollywood movies, Bollywood movies with all these trials. And I would always imagine myself doing the cross examinations and, the opening statement, the closing statement, the oral argument. I never thought of myself to be a corporate lawyer, to be the one who's sitting in office all day. And then cut to 2020, I came to the US. I did my LLM from Columbia Law School. I graduated in 2021. During that time, my only aim was to get a job, honestly, because those were the COVID times. And coming from India, and there are many visa issues, all I wanted was a job. I got lucky. I started working with Napoli Skolnick. I started with Joe Napoli's team. And Mr. Joseph Napoli is like a very renowned personal injury trial lawyer. So I was put in his team and he loved doing trials and he would always encourage all the attorneys to do trials. So that my childhood dream of being a trial lawyer was honestly awakened once I started with this firm. That's my journey of becoming a trial lawyer.
If you could take me back, though, you're in India. Were you really inspired by these characters on the movie screen in these legal films? Like what American movies did you see and what Bollywood films starred, these trial lawyers who kind of caught your attention and the dream of being in a courtroom?
More than movies, I'll tell you about Boston Legal. I was really inspired by the show Boston Legal.
The William Shatner show?
Yes, I loved it. I loved all the opening statements and closing statements, and I would think about it and I would look at them with so much confidence. I used to watch Suits too, but honestly, like once I started watching Boston Legal, I thought I was more inclined towards that. And I watched many movies, like I watched Erin Brockovich and all Legally Blonde, all sorts of movies with lawyers. And when it came to Bollywood movies, there were many. Like there's this one movie called Damini, which is like really famous, and it has a very famous trial scene in which the judge gives an order for an adjournment. The trial is going on; it's a rape case, and It's very intense. The lead actor, Sunny Deol, he says, Tariq pe Tariq pe Tariq. It basically means that you keep giving dates and dates and dates, adjournment, adjournment, adjournment. When will we come to the meat of the matter? Basically, that. That's a very inspiring movie. So, when you see all these movies, you see all these characters, you want to be a part of it. Especially, you are having so much of an impact on people's lives. All these cases dealt with, individuals. And I thought that really motivated me, honestly.
I remember growing up and watching a lot of legal movies, and I even wanted to be an attorney watching those. They're very inspiring. Tell me a little bit, though, about you're an attorney, you passed the bar in India. Did you always want to come to the States? Was that like a goal of yours to practice law in the States? Or were you, as you mentioned, you were practicing in India, but you weren't really getting that opportunity to step on the stage, so to speak?
It wasn't my dream to come to the US, honestly. I first came to the US in 2017 after I graduated law school back in India as a tourist. I came with my parents. My brother lives here too. And I went around, I saw colleges, and my brother really motivated me. He was like, you should come study here because he studied here. He's an engineer. So he studied here and he had started working with IBM at that time. So he took us around New York. He and my sister in law, both of them worked in New York City. So I really liked it, but I went back to India. I never really thought about it. But of course, there comes a time, right? In my family, like my brother had done masters. So it was like, okay, I should do a master's too. I had worked for 3 years. So I thought I'll do an LLM. And that was my plan. I'll come to the US for my LLM. Once I came here, I really liked it. The professors were great. I really liked my life. And also, my then boyfriend and now husband also lived here. So it made a lot of sense for me to stay back. And no, it wasn't a green card wedding. I stayed back for him and not because of him. Once I started working here, I got a lot of opportunities. At least like once I passed the bar and then I was admitted, I think within the first month, I made at least dozens of court appearances. And honestly, in India, at least in Bombay, where I am from in Mumbai, they have the solicitor and barrister kind of a system. So you might be working with a law firm and you may not get as many opportunities to go appear for the cases yourself because there's always a counsel. If it's a big case, it's a really big case, they don't want to risk it. So they hire a senior counsel or a counsel who is an expert in those kind of cases, and they are the ones who will take the lead. So you will probably like follow them around or then take notes, shadow them. Of course you get your opportunity, but you need a lot of experience to get that opportunity. Here I was pushed in the ocean with the sharks. And
Right.
honestly, that is great. I think you learn much more once you start doing it yourself.
Yes, you get thrown into the deep end with no
Yes.
life jacket.
Yes, that's true.
As a trial lawyer who made their way from India to Manhattan, what makes you unique?
So in India, I was doing commercial litigation and arbitration mostly. And then I started doing personal injury cases here. The reason I think what makes me click here more is the fact that I'm dealing with clients who are individuals directly. When I was working in commercial litigation arbitration space, I was mostly dealing with representatives of a company. And one of the best qualities I feel about me is the fact that I'm very approachable and empathetic. So that is something that goes better with personal injury cases. And that is something I feel is unique about me because usually lawyers are perceived to be somebody who is like a know-it-all, is brash, is aggressive, and I am not like that at all. And honestly, I thought that's going to be an issue, but I've realized, especially when you're dealing with individuals, that is a good thing if you're not too aggressive, because I feel clients can pick up the phone and talk to me openly without any hesitation, and I feel that is what is unique about me. In fact, when I started working, many people told me I was too nice and I had to be a little more aggressive. And in the beginning, I took it to my heart. I was like, okay, maybe I am being too nice. And if the clients will think I'm a pushover. But honestly, no, I think the times have changed. Now, being nice is in and being rude is out. So, in fact, I got a very good response from judges too, because I do a lot of court appearances, and the judges seem to like me too. The clients seem to like me. So, I don't think I need to be aggressive. I think being nice is a unique quality in me for a lawyer, and it works.
Yes, there is, I think, a lot of personas that are created in perceptions about lawyers and, whether it's the public, right? Or other lawyers having perceptions of other lawyers and how they should act.
Right. Like in Boston Legal, like Alan Shore, he's very aggressive and very cocky. But of course, I liked his style of advocacy. But I knew I was never going to be like that. And even if I try, it won't be like genuine. It
Yes.
won't come naturally to me. And I don't think that works anymore.
Style of advocacy. I like that saying. So I know it's hard to choose one, and I might actually ask you to share two, but could you share a case maybe from India that had a significant impact on you as an attorney, and then also maybe one here in the States?
My first trial, basically, I was second seating Mr. Joe Napoli, and it was in Queens County in New York. And they have a bifurcated trial. It was a premises case. There was a liabilities trial first, and then the damages trial. So it was a tough case. We won the liability bit. Okay. And we were really happy because it was a tough case. We were not sure. And then we won liability. And the jury was completely on our side. Now, because this was during summer and the jury didn't want to be sitting in the courtroom all day, we had to get a new set of jury, completely a new set of jury during the damages trial.
Is that common?
I don't think so. It's mostly the same jury that first is sitting on the liability case and then the damages. But then in our case, because most of them wanted to be out uh, in the sun, so we had to get a new set of jury members. And they were not really convinced by the medical reports and whatever medical experts we had. Although we did have a very good case. So I think the lesson here was the fact that even though you win liability, but if you have a different set of jury members, it's not going to work because they haven't seen you prove liability if you just show them the medical reports and the hospital reports and the experts without any they just know that this person is liable, the defendant is liable, but without any context, without them seeing any of the evidence, just seeing the damages evidence. Although we did get an award because the defendant was liable, but our lowest expectation was like $500,000. We got like $50,000. That was a big lesson. That don't take the risk of having like a completely new set of jury members. And actually, one more lesson from that case. It has happened quite often now that the defendants will try to videotape them doing usual activities which they may have probably said in their deposition that they can't do. So one of our clients, she said that she cannot drive a car, and
They hired like a private investigator to go film them out?
yes, they did, and she was caught on camera. Although it the fact was that the deposition happened probably 5 years before the trial,
Ah,
and that's when she said, I cannot drive.
yes.
And then the video was taken like maybe it was around 3 years after her deposition. But if you show that to the jury members, that, oh, this is what she said during the deposition, and here is the video, her driving the car, it's not nice. It's not good. So that's another lesson, that always warn your clients. Although we do warn, but they also want to live their life, But now we've started telling them that there will always be an investigator in your backyard, and stop with all the social media.
Yes. No more social media as evidence. Very touchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about the Indian case, so this was one of the first few arbitrations I was doing. And I had a very good boss there, the partner I was working with, Sanaya Dada Chanji. She handed over to me this arbitration which dealt with fraud. There was database manipulation in that case. It was a software company which was handling software for a bank. And then that bank's database was messed with by a few individuals. In fact, one individual who was an employee of the software company of our client. So it was a crazy arbitration. And our whole case was that he didn't do it in the course of employment. He did it at his own free will while he was at home. So what he did was he manipulated the database. He used SQL plus. I don't remember very well. It had a lot of IT terms, and he manipulated the database to look like there was no change in the numbers,
Uh huh.
but he had like withdrawn a lot of money. So that was a very interesting, and it was much more interesting because that was one of the first cases that the partner I was working with completely handed over to me, and I learned a lot.
I mean, that sounds like a Bollywood movie in itself, right
I
there. So
know.
the guy who works for the software company works for the bank, basically set up like a ghost machine. So everybody in the bank thought the numbers were all right, but then at night he was working out of the real database and withdrawing money, but that it wouldn't show to anyone else in the bank.
Right, yeah, because they were handling, this company was handling the payment systems in the bank. And this guy, he was supposed to be a supervisor, in fact. He was not even like the regular employee, he was a supervisor of the employees.
At CloudLex, we understand the challenges personal injury law firms face every day. That's why we've built the Legal Cloud platform to help you stay productive and keep your cases moving forward. CloudLex provides a comprehensive suite of applications and features to support every stage of intake, pre-litigation, trial, and more. From innovative case management to insightful analytics and HIPAA-secure client communication. CloudLex empowers your firm with the technology to thrive. Build your firm of the future and see for yourself at cloudlex.com. Now, here is this episode's closing argument.
So the most impactful moment of my career had to be my move to New York and starting completely afresh. It would have been very easy to me to just stay in Mumbai in India, where I had a very good life without any real life challenges. However, something in me clicked, and fortunately I had a family that supported me and I moved to New York. There was a time when I was struggling to find a job because although I had passed the bar exam on my very first attempt and had a Columbia degree, without any H-1B work visa, it was very difficult for me to find a job. But I had to find a job because of the student loan. Many people did tell me I should just pack my bags and go home, but I persisted thanks to the support of my family and my loved ones. So a few key lessons and the verdict from my experience is that you need to have courage to embrace change and be persistent even in adversity. If I could write a book on my life, I would call it Courage Across Continents, or The Girl Who Tried and Made It.
That was trial lawyer Aparna Pujar. Thanks for sharing those stories. To learn more about Aparna, visit her firm's website, napolilaw.com. All right, I'm Chad Sands. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
You've been listening to Celebrating Justice, presented by CloudLex and the Trial Lawyers Journal. Remember, the stories don't end here. Visit triallawyersjournal.com to become part of our community and keep the conversation going. And for a deeper dive into the tools that empower personal injury law firms, visit cloudlex.com/TLJ to learn more.